Welcome to a brand new episode of the Michele Tafoya podcast. Please click that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. It's free to subscribe, so why wouldn't you? We'd love to have you with us every single time. Today, I'm going to be honest with you. This is a tough one for me today. I've pulled some sound to play for you to share with you my thoughts on, but I can't get around what's going on around the world. From Brown University to Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, and that whole entire family being plunged into complete turmoil, to Bondi Beach in Australia. That place is beautiful and it's shocking. So having said all that, we'll revisit that at the end. Right now, I want to talk a little bit about Congress. Here we are. It's December of 2025. I don't think a lot's going to get done in Congress before the first of the year. But we've got this representative, McBride. She's Congresswoman Sarah McBride, and she is condemning the administration for the healthcare issues that we're all facing here in America. I don't know how. Well, look, she's a politician. She can make that leap if she wants to. But let's just play this for you, and let's chat about it right afterwards. Let's roll, Representative McBride.
We are currently in the beginning stages of a $1 trillion ticking time bomb going off in the center of the American healthcare system. And to your point around the ACA tax credits, that's just the first part of that time bomb going off. We are essentially now living under Trump care. Donald Trump likes to own things and slap his name on them. Well, he now owns the American healthcare system. It is Trump care. And at the end of this year, the Affordable Care Act tax credits without action by Congress will expire. And that means skyrocketing healthcare premiums for the millions of Americans that rely on the ACA marketplace for insurance. People seeing 100, 200, 300% increases in their healthcare. But the consequences of Trump care don't end there. A year from now, the largest cut to Medicaid in American history will go into effect. And in its totality, Trump care will leave 15 million more Americans without health coverage. But as that bomb goes off, those 15 million Americans, they will not be the only casualties of that bomb going off. Because the reality is, when you have 15 million people who lose coverage, it's not that they never get care. It's that they get care when they're sicker and it's more expensive. And someone still has to pay for that. And that cost gets passed on to all other premium payers. And when you have $1 trillion removed from the American healthcare system, what happens to cash-strapped rural hospitals, health clinics, and doctors' offices? They cut services and in some cases close entirely, leaving those communities having to drive longer, wait longer, and take more time off work to get care. And that really is what Trump care is. It's 15 million more people uninsured and everyone else having to pay more and wait longer to get care. And I'm going to continue to fight against it.
Okay, that was, she's called it Trump care. So Obamacare, you probably remember when that was passed. Joe Biden was the vice president and said it was a big effing deal when they went up to sign that new law that was supposed to take care of this stuff. But during COVID, they gave out subsidies. The Democrats did. Remember, it was a Democrat-led effort to give out subsidies for these healthcare premiums. Obamacare is such a big, complicated mess. This is what happens when governments get involved in planning your healthcare. So in addition to the original ACA, which shouldn't have been called the Affordable Care Act, it made it completely unaffordable because it lumps everyone into the same pool so that if you're a really healthy human being and you take care of yourself and you eat right and you're doing what you should and all that, taking care of yourself, you're lumped in with the same people who have pre-existing conditions and we're all paying for each other. So that we're already experiencing socialized medicine in a sense. And what this congressperson is trying to do is blame everything on the White House now and rename it. And it's just wrong. Now, let's make some decisions, folks. Let's make some corrections and do some things that put power back into the hands of the people. This is why I'm such a limited government fan, because when you make the government so big, each individual gets really small. So much bloat and weight in the federal government makes every individual that much smaller. When government gets involved in funding education, I'm talking about higher education, the prices go up. And gets involved in healthcare, the prices go up. And they've been going up dramatically since since Obamacare was passed. So she can try to relabel this as Trump care or anything she wants to do, but she's dead wrong. She's absolutely wrong. And this is what happens when these massive bills get passed without vetting, without real concern for the American people. We end up paying for it in one way, shape, or form. And really what we ought to be doing is focusing on the people who truly need a safety net, but not letting nets tangle people too. You get entangled in nets. People get stuck in nets. And unfortunately, I think that's so much of what's going on. How we fix it? That's a conversation that is far too long for this podcast. But I just want you to be aware of what the effort is here. The Democrats put these subsidies in place. They set them to expire at the end of 2025, which is where we're near. And they're going to blame that on anyone but themselves. Don't fall for it. All right, next up. It is Christmas time. People know the story of Jesus. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. But in Minneapolis, our chief of police, it's hard to believe this. Look, Immigration Customs Enforcement is a law enforcement group. And they are trying to enforce the law. And they're trying to do it in cities that have major issues. They have determined that Minneapolis is one such city. But here is what the police chief, another law enforcement professional, is saying about ICE. Roll it.
It's especially personal to me, having been raised a Catholic, to be in a Christian church this morning as we are approaching Christmas. And I cannot help but think of what is happening in our city today and how that echoes with how outsiders have been treated for thousands of years, how Mary and Joseph themselves were considered outsiders and forced to stay in a barn. That's what we're getting ready to commemorate as Christians around the world, while all of this fear is happening right here in our town.
Okay. I don't know. First of all, if it hits with you personally, that's really your business. You're the police chief. You're there to enforce the law. Let's try to remember this. Every country on the planet has limited resources, limited food, limited money, limited living space, limited jobs. Everything is limited. We don't have an infinite amount of anything. And so imagine you're a person who's working really, really hard to try to make ends meet. Either you were born here or you're a legal citizen. You've become a citizen of this country and you're working really hard to provide for your family, to provide everything that you need to live a safe and productive life. And then there are people who have come in illegally. They have entered the country illegally, and they're getting a bunch of stuff, a bunch of limited resources from the government to stay here, and they're getting it. So I read this in an article just today on the plane ride home. You got two people drowning in the ocean. One is swimming so hard, has done everything right, swimming. There's another one swimming next to him who's kind of swimming hard. And then the lifeguard comes in, and who does he throw that one lifesaver ring to? Not the person swimming really, really hard. And so the person swimming really, really hard, it's not that they don't care about the person who's next to them, also struggling, but not swimming that hard. They are just pissed off that the lifesaver, the life-saving device is being thrown not to them. And they are looking at that decision made by the person who's got one ring to throw, one lifesaver to throw. And they're throwing it to the people who have not done all the right things to be here. So try to picture it from that perspective, if you can. All right, next up, this is sad. Joining all the sadness in the world, and it's just been a rough week, hasn't it? I got to keep it together. Scott Adams, who created Dilbert and has had a successful podcast for years and years, it's known now that he's suffering prostate cancer, and it's gotten very advanced, and he is now paralyzed and in the hospital, but he posted an update. I think his connection with his listeners and viewers is keeping him alive. Let's roll what he recorded.
When do I go home? Maybe never. Don't know. I can't go home until there's a way to take care of me at home. And right now, it would require some setting up. But what we don't know is after the treatments are over, I just wait a few weeks to see if it worked. And that will be a very long few weeks. Because if it doesn't work and I don't get back any mobility, my life will be quite different. And probably a lot shorter.
The man is a fighter. He continues to fight, and he continues to share his journey. And take from it what you will. Think, there but for the grace of God go I. Take care of yourselves, get checkups, do the right things. And then let's just send a good prayer or a good thought to Scott Adams. He's been really public with this journey, and I think that's noble. And I hope it's helped somebody somewhere. I'm sure it has. Not sure this is helpful. When it comes from AOC, it rarely is. But she posted this. The normalization and acceptance of Islamophobia in our politics is disgusting. Our Muslim neighbors are not Republican scapegoats for anti-Semitic attacks and Trump's failed policies. We must absolutely condemn Islamophobia loudly and hold those perpetuating it accountable. Now, she posted that as a sort of a response to another post. You know how it goes on X. If you're not on X, God bless you. If you don't feel the need to go on, don't. Live a blissful life of not dealing with this. But I like to know what's going on in the world and with people. Congressman Randy Fine, if you don't know the name, he is Florida's 6th Congressional District Congressman. And he wrote the following, and it's not altogether inappropriate given what we've been seeing the last few days. Here's his post. A Muslim immigrant burning Holocaust survivors alive in Colorado wasn't enough. A Muslim immigrant executing National Guardsmen in Washington wasn't enough. Muslim immigrants attacking and killing non-Muslims in Australia wasn't enough. 9/11 wasn't enough. October 7th wasn't enough. Now the FBI has announced that they have arrested 5 Muslim terrorists who are planning Muslim terror attacks on New Year's Eve in Los Angeles and New Orleans. This has to stop. We all know there are good people and bad people in the world. Generally, when you have a party or you host people at your house, you invite people that comport with your values, that share your values, whatever those values might be. And you can find out rather quickly if you don't share each other's values. And all of my friendships and relationships really are based on common values. You know, I value liberty. I value freedom. I value America. I value family. I value friends. I value our armed services. I value law enforcement. There are a lot of things I value: integrity. I value honesty. These are the things that I value. In Minnesota, we have had fraud way disproportionately committed by the Somali community. Not all of them. But to ignore that this particular community has robbed Minnesota blind is to, and it's not racist to think that. This is not a race issue. This is a particular community that shares their values, and in doing so, stole not only Minnesotans' money, but Americans' money, because this was federal dollars. But what people want to do is distract you by saying, oh, you're a racist, if you think that all Somalis are responsible. No one said all Somalis. So there are different ways to handle this. And I think we should stop shaming people for their concern about certain communities that behave a certain way and that are very much against American values. Ilhan Omar represents a district in my state. She claims to love America. I have yet to see the evidence. So, I love America. I want to save America. I want America to be safe and happy and prosperous and productive. And I want everyone to have their shot at the American dream. So, I want people who share my values. It's not about religion. It's not about race. It's not about gender. It's about what do you value. But that's why, right on brand for AOC to excoriate someone for pointing out some kind of obvious things. Okay. Let's go back to healthcare one more time, because this is Chuck Schumer talking about Obamacare, followed by Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming talking about Obamacare. This is healthcare and affordability. They're the topics of the day, and they should be. They should be. We're facing real problems. But just pointing at one team or the other, or just pointing at the opposing team, doesn't always work. Anyway, let's roll this video.
When it comes to health care, the damage has been done, and Americans know it's all thanks to the Republicans.
The damage was done the day the Democrats passed Obamacare, which Republicans said is going to go to rising costs for health care, fewer choices for Americans, and hassles and headaches when it comes to health care in terms of the paperwork and the denials and all the issues that come when the government tries to run health care. That's when the damage was done. And I should point out to the minority leader, he has no solutions. The Democrats have no solutions for the disaster that have brought onto the American people.
Okay. So here's what happens when the government takes control of a lot of stuff. You lose your choice. You lose your freedom to choose. You lose your freedom to choose. That's why school choice is such a big deal right now. People want to be able to choose where their kids go to school. And as a Washington, I'm talking West Coast, Northwest corner of the country, Washington, a very liberal state, had someone there, a politician there recently say, the government is not co-parenting our children. And he's absolutely right. Absolutely right. You ought to be able to choose where your child gets an education. And if public dollars aren't going to be spent on your child's education, you ought to be able to direct those and where they go. And let's have competition. See, that's the other thing about socialized healthcare. And we see it in Canada, and we see it in England. You've got a bunch of bureaucrats, and by that I mean government workers, not their fault. Someone's got to do it, but they are making decisions about your health care. They are overseeing how healthcare is run. So this is, look, we have plenty of examples where the government has failed in its administration of things. Student loan debt, and forgiving student loan debt, inflating the cost of college because there are all these, national grants, and they're just inflating the cost of college. At a time when we need so many people working in the trades, working to build energy centers, there is so much really tangible, productive work that needs to be done in America. Check out Mike Rowe sometime, R-O-W-E. If you don't know Mike Rowe, you should. You should look at, he's just a smart guy who understands that there's this massive gap between the kinds of work that needs to get done and the number of workers willing to do it. So, again, when the government gets involved, things don't tend to go so super smoothly. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with the IRS. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with the DMV. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with, listen, and it's not just government medical plans. All of these other health insurance plans have to comply with what the government says it has to do. Your freedom of choice on these matters is going out the window. I want everyone to have choice. I want everyone to say, you know what? Here's the American dream. The American dream is I have the opportunity to work my butt off, to be self-reliant, to build my family, and to build my future in a way that I want. I have that opportunity. Doesn't mean I'm going to get to where Elon Musk is. Doesn't mean I'm going to get to where Bill Gates is, or LeBron James, or Steph Curry, or you name it, Josh Allen. It doesn't mean you're going to get there, but at least you have the chance, and you get to control how much effort you put into that. Nobody else. And yeah, unfortunately, there are people who are taking advantage of all of the benefits that the government doles out, and they're just living on them. And we're not talking about people who are really need the safety net. We're talking about people who maybe get stuck in the safety net. There's so much here, you guys. There's so much to get to. And I'm just scratching the surface. Follow me on X at Michele with one L _Tafoya, Tafoya. And the reason I say that is I'm going to be sharing some articles that I've been delving into that are fascinating and really show you what's going on. It's hard. We don't have time for all this, right? We don't have time to read. But I always say just try to read one thing a day. Maybe it's on your commute to work, or listen to a podcast, or just try to read one thing a day. And I try to post what I think are really valuable reads or articles or clips. That's what I try to do. So follow me on X so you can get into some of that. Just one a day. One. Maybe it's before you go to bed. Maybe it's the first thing you wake up. Whatever you decide. It's been a rough week. I think about out in LA, Rob Reiner, and everyone's going to say, oh, you couldn't have been more diametrically opposed politically. I don't care. To think that you are watching as your child murders you, a child you've tried to do everything for, because if you're a parent, you know that is your goal in life, is to love and take care of your child and make sure that they're safe and that they're productive humans and that they can live on their own. It's a tragic, awful story. I'm getting a little emotional because it's just awful. And it's coupled with what happened at Brown. 2 young lives is taken, just snuffed out. And, I know you're going to want to talk about the guns, some of you. A person made that choice to take those lives and shoot others. A person, a human being. Same thing at Bondi Beach in Australia. I covered the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, Australia. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had, not only as a sportscaster, but as a human being. The people down there are tremendous. follow that story because there's a lot there. And it's just absolutely gut-wrenching. Gut-wrenching that people celebrating Hanukkah were just taken out. And again, you can say the guns. Australia has some of the strictest gun rules in the world. They did a buyback of guns. We need to hold people accountable for their choices to hurt other people. We do. We do. And until we do that, we might as well expect more of the same behavior. If no one faces accountability, they're just going to keep doing it. We're getting close to Christmas and New Year's. I wish happiness and joy, and celebration and family and light and love to everyone. I really do. In the meantime, be brave. Be brave enough to read one thing a day. Do good. Smile at someone. Tip your paper boy, whatever it is. Do good. And we will see you next time. You can keep up with the Trump administration when you subscribe to the Trump Report. It's an email that brings you daily highlights from the Oval Office right to your inbox 5 days a week. Subscribe today at SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Trump.